now, when they try to act as though it's an us against them. This is an internal party election. And let's not forget with regards to what happened with the internal politics when there was a transition of leadership. And that's all I'll say about that. Because at the end of the day now, when we get the results today, we're going to more or less find out who the executive is moving forward for the next general election, with the expectation, however, that the political leader might possibly change, because at the next general election, Dr. Keith Rowley might decide to step down from his post as leader of the PNM, because he might not look to run to be Prime Minister for another term. And if he's able to make that determination in advance, that would technically be the right thing to do, to allow people to vote for who they want to be the next Prime Minister, and not potentially retire after an election, and then you get potentially somebody who is not popular enough to be Prime Minister. And therein lies the reason why the internal elections, both now and then potentially the next one coming, will be very important. Because at some point, Dr. Keith Rowley is going to retire, sooner rather than later. I doubt we want to see him fighting down, trying to run the government in his 80s. It's not a good look. And to be fair to the man, unless he has a different type of constitution, it's not something I would recommend. Go and enjoy retirement and your golden years, and be a pundit and a talking head within the national community. Ironically, of course, we lost that opportunity with the late Patrick Manning, and currently, Mr. Pandey, he doesn't seem to be taking that much interviews. I'm not sure if people aren't seeking him out, or if he is just declining them. Now, the same will be true with Kamala Persad-Bissessar. She is more or less around a similar age to Dr. Keith Rowley, so her days are going to be over sooner rather than later, hopefully. Again, it's not something I would recommend. And when those two figures leave, then the dynamics of the party changes, or rather the dynamics of the election. My co-host has, from almost the very beginning, reiterated over and over the fact that he believes that the UNC in its current form is unelectable. Unelectable. And even with all of the things that I disagree with the government, from their messaging to their policy to how they respond to crisis, especially the first and the last in those three things, I don't think right now I could trust the United National Congress, the opposition party, to do any better. And again, the individual Kamala Persad-Bissessar already lost 2 elections. Usually, that's a sign to withdraw. You could remain as an MP, as Boris Johnson has, but I do believe either he decided on his own not to try to go up for political leader again after Liz Truss more or less failed spectacularly, or he was told by his party, no, don't do it again. Let's not make further mistakes. See, the party in England, Boris Johnson's party, is not beholden to the man that could keep political power. So why is it that our political parties here seems to be cemented, controlled by political leadership, by the top person? And that's one of the things that the PNM has to hope the perception does not go beyond those that follow politics. Because I think those that follow politics have some questions with regards to how transparent could it be when the potential winning slate is also managing the elections. That doesn't seem right. But the general public might not have those questions, or will they? Meanwhile, again, same thing with the opposition. Everything is through the leader, through the leader, through the leader. Makes me wonder if Rudal Munilal has Kamala there to just take all the blows, and he could be the star boy, second in command, wait for her to go. His reputation has not taken any hits. He might have a better showing in a general Maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's the plan. Because the question, of course, is who replaces the current leaders of the two parties when they go, and how will that change the face of our election? And that's going to be very important. When the then Patrick Manning administration had to call a snap election, the last election, the last one that Mr. Manning lost, I told somebody in PNM it might have been Foster Cummings himself. This election is not important to the PNM. By all rights, they're supposed to lose it. They almost managed to win. It took a coalition to beat them, but by all rights, they should have lost it, given the nature of the snap election. The following one was important. The following one was one where they didn't have the inherent disadvantages of the perception of what the then current administration was doing. All sorts of wild accusations of dictatorship and corruption were being bandied around. For better or worse, I don't think they amounted to anything. But, true to form, the UNC lost the following election. The PNM were able to win. Again, my co-host likes to say that Dr. Keith Rowley was the best opposition leader. At least I believe that he knows. Definitely better than the current opposition leader. Being in opposition is not the same as being in government. So, that said, again, the next internal PNM election is going to be very important. What will that transition be like? Those who know that the transition the last time was, well, it wasn't necessarily messy, but it was a big change. And it left a lot of people on the outside looking in, which is something that Minister Young needs to remember when he made those comments with regards to those who weren't part of the PNN opposition. They didn't necessarily have a choice. But this is going to be different. But there is the potential that, hey, the internal elections aren't free and fair. Here's the kicker. All of you who supported it now as part of the leaders in service team, well, only one of you could be political leader when Dr. Rowley retires. Only one of you is going to get the backing of the machine. Only one could be Hillary Clinton in 2016 getting pushed ahead of Bernie Sanders. The rest of you get to be Bernie Sanders. So how many are going to go through that prophecy and be supportive even in defeat? And how many of you are going to be rebellious in defeat? You don't really have much mechanism or opportunity to do so with any party. Now maybe Minister Imbett's words was a harbinger of things to come. A recognition that, oh, how we operated now, maybe we can't do so in the future because it's just not going to be practical. Who knows? Maybe nobody will have enough support to get the entire machinery behind them. And we're going to see, for better or worse, a true democratic internal process in the PNM. Undoubtedly. No chance of a perception of anything opposite to that. Maybe we'll see that. And maybe that's why he said, look, I'll say come again. Maybe he actually appreciates those that stuck there, put their neck out there. And maybe those that put their neck out there this time will be in a better position, like Dr. Keith Rowley, for their following opportunity. In fact, Minister Imbert mentioned that in his remarks. That Dr. Keith Rowley failed in, I believe, 96 and managed to become party leader in 2010, approximately, or 2011, approximately 15 years later. Not everybody that went up to contest has 15 years, I understand that, but we're talking about 5 years. It's doable, at least for some. There's more than one slate with regards to the contestation of the internal elections. But the PNM, of course, will have an interesting decision to make. Because whether they do it democratically or whether the machine manages to muscle its preferred candidate through, it's probably not going to be Kamala Prasad-Bissessar. It's probably going to be somebody else. And the thing is, just the removal of one person You might say that doesn't change a party, but it very well could. Those who follow sports understand that if the best player is removed, yes, you could put the second best player in his slot. But down the line, every position theoretically becomes worse by 1 grade. The flip side to that, of course, is if you remove somebody who you don't have confidence in, yes, maybe Rudal Munilal, more people have confidence in him. Him being at the top might make the UNC look better. And then the people underneath him who might potentially have better reputations, they get moved up a grade. Hopefully he might do some spring cleaning. They do have some people there, some of the stalwarts of both parties that I would rather see retire. You already lost at some point in your political career. That's usually a sign to go away and let the new blood take over. And in the UNC, there's a lot of new blood, some of them chronologically young, some of them not so young, but new to politics, who I would love to see be given more of a chance to show their own individual initiative, as well as in the PNM. Because right now we have real problems. And so far, our centralized model is showing that it really can't work. Why? Because currently, and I would say that, you know what, if I took notes in the previous administration, I probably would have found good examples. The fact that multiple ministers were fired, I guess, is one example there. But currently, in this administration, multiple ministers in the previous, but in this one, with regards to emergency situations, with regards to responding to public requests or demands, the current government seems to be moving about as swiftly as a bowl of dried molasses that's hardened, that you now have to chip out in order to get your bowl back. That's potentially spoiled and ruined. It's particularly with the flooding. How much money was it? I think over 200 million is earmarked next year. Potentially 500 million has been spent over the last 4 years, with 298 million apparently spent on drainage and irrigation by the Ministry of Local Government within that period. That's 300 million. 300 million to try to deal with drainage and irrigation, and we've seen some of the worst flooding potentially within the last, well, within this administration. Is this the worst? Was it worse before? Or is it just another set of bad flooding in a period of bad flooding? We have some serious issues with our water supply, with flooding, with our national road network and transportation plan, a lack of policy, with our public transportation system tied into the latter point there, with our inter-island transportation. Both of them are losing money, and we need to potentially figure that out and not just say, well, the people demand this, so we have to give it to them. If we can't afford it, therein lies the question. It should be debated publicly and transparently. Let's not forget education. I actually think education, flooding, and our transportation issues are more important than crime right now. Or at least from the perspective that we should be able to solve these things before solving crime. These things are a matter of planning, and proper budgeting. Just given enough money and time, we could solve it. Either or both, money and time, can solve those things. Crime is different. Crime is a whole different kettle of fish. Money, time, human resources, international help, it's not just going to automatically solve the problem. I get that. But in areas that the government could easily get to, why does it seem as though things are getting worse? The bill to maintain our schools, some of it is unpaid to EFCL and now potentially to MTS, money unpaid to TNTech for government entities using electricity. And at the end of the day, I'll close out this segment just by reminding people, those of you who know, and informing people who don't know, that in China, that had zero COVID, that does not take kindly to protests, what happened with the last set of protests over zero COVID? The government had to listen to the people and ease some of the restrictions. So to some extent, we could comfortably say they listened and they had to give in because the public's demands were reasonable. In Iran, the Attorney General has said that the morality police is no longer. The Interior Minister, who is in charge, apparently has not formally declared as such. The protests potentially will continue. But at the end of the day, they're not backing down. Even after, from what I understand, maybe as much as 300 people have been killed from these protests. The public needs to let itself be heard on these issues. Why can't we do it peacefully? If you want to complain about the police using violence, that's them. Let them do it. Don't start off on the wrong foot, but make your voices heard. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will welcome two guests from the TTPS, not our usual media ambassador. We have a specific situation to get into. Some of you might have heard of it already. 16 days of activism with regards to gender-based violence. We'll get into that and more on Talking Point. We'll be right back.
Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Making your home a work of art. Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures. Horseline Heights has embarked, making your home a work of art. Oceans Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Whether it's a room for 1, 2, 3 or more, there's a room waiting with the ocean view almost to your door. Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, the perfect getaway when you don't want to travel far. The Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, Crown Point, Tobago. Call 639-8571 for your reservation.
Better Value Limited has been making gift giving easier and more affordable for over 26 years. Power tools, indoor, outdoor furniture and accessories, mini appliances, designer fragrances, houseware and home decor products, and all your bridal registry items. Now in stock, our stylish loft bed and study desk combo unit for just $16.50. Better Value Limited. Call 235-3709 or visit us at Princestown or Gullview or check our Facebook page.
Christmas coming here is all around. Christmas back in town. Christmas coming here is all around.
Christmas is coming, and your fingers know it.
Christmas back in town. Christmas back in town. Christmas back in town. Oh yeah, I can feel it. Christmas back in town.
For a finger-licking good Christmas. KFC.
Back in town.
The issue the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit?
Yes.
What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive, it is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, it's for all of us in public.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing now, Andy.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinidadians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Living in victory every day.
Inspire, motivate, encourage, hope. It's about topical issues. It's about everything that you would want to know about hope, about life. At the end, you're going to say, yes, if he can do it, I can do it too. If she can, I can do it too.
No matter what they say, living in victory every day.
Nicole Lawson Live, living in victory every day. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on WESN.
Have a content capital Christmas. It's the best time of the year. Now I know we have no snow, but Christmas is still here. Ho ho, the Christmas shows each week for all to see. Movie classics wait for you and a local content for free. Have a content capital Christmas, and in case you didn't hear, oh by golly, have a content capital Christmas this year. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Talking Points. And joining me, we have two members of the Gender-Based Violence Unit here to speak about the 16 days of activism. Gender-based violence, I think I would say maybe the amount of press it has gotten might have been reduced in the last couple of months. It was, however, a big issue coming out of the pandemic when it seemed as though being stuck together caused a whole host of domestic issues, of which gender-based violence was one of the more prominent ones. At the time, there were several situations, including murder-suicides, that it caused the country to ask, well, what's going on? What's happening? And I guess we need to be reminded that this is not just a COVID problem. This is something that's ongoing in our society. We need to keep up the efforts to try to stem the tide, because this is not something that, well, the general law enforcement is going to be able to intervene with, because it happens behind closed doors. Therein lies the challenge. And it's a challenge that is compounded by the fact that a lot of people, at least in the past, don't seem to want to report about it. So to join me here, we have with us, I believe, we have with us Corporal Trisha Durant-Charles and PC Shankar Bedesi?
Yes.
Bedesi. I am so sorry, folks. I keep mixing up the poor gentleman's name, but good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having us.
So y'all are here, of course, as part of the gender-based violence unit, which is one of the units within the Special Victims Department. So just first of all, if you could just give us a basic rundown on your unit and the SVD.
Good morning. Thank you again. So the Special Victims Department is an amalgamation of 3 units, which is the Gender-Based Violence Unit, the Sexual Offences Unit, and the Child Protection Unit. Now, the Gender-Based Violence Unit was formed or launched in January of 2020 by the then Commissioner, and it is currently spearheaded by Woman Superintendent Claire Guy Allen.
And this, now, will each unit be in every station, every division? How is it deployed?
For the Gender-Based Violence Unit, we're in every division within Trinidad and Tobago. So that's how the unit operates. So at a specific station, the unit will be based.
Okay, but you could report gender-based violence to any station, and will a member of the unit come to the station, or will you be directed then to the members of the unit?
Yes, definitely. We currently adhere to the open door policy, where you can go and make a report at any police station throughout Trinidad and Tobago. And the unit will be contacted, and your information will be referred to the unit.
And I would like to state, I know of an incident where, yes, this worked as intended, and the officers were able to respond more or less pretty diligently where the complaint was made. Now, with regards to gender-based violence, as I mentioned in my introduction, some people might have maybe forgotten is the best way to put it, or overlooked, because the news isn't necessarily carrying too many. We will still see the occasional major incident, whether it's a murder-suicide. I think we had one recently. I can't remember off the top of my head. Or if it's just an incident where violence short of murder has been accused. But it's not necessarily getting the same attention. We don't have all of the opinion pieces and the public personalities speaking out. We don't have marches, right, with regards to this. So we know what happened with the pandemic. But as you and I had a discussion yesterday, is this something that, is it that it spiked with the pandemic and it's died down now, or is it continuing at the same rate that it was? What's your opinion on it?
Well, we would like to think that domestic violence spiked with the pandemic. However, we have observed that, seeing that the unit came on board, there has been a lot more reports, which means a lot more persons are coming forward. They are more aware that the unit is in existence, and they feel more comfortable to come and make the reports.
And I mean, so with regards, of course, now one of the things, I remember I had a sociology lecturer, and she was a big advocate with regards to domestic violence, not just being men against women. That's the assumption, right? But it could work the other way as well. Maybe to a lesser degree, but there's also, of course, the stigma of men reporting, going into a police station, or telling their friends or family, hey, my wife beating me. Like, that's not something that I guess our local, not even local, but general masculinity in international, worldwide culture, it's easy to accept. Have we seen more reports from those types of incidents?
Yes. More men are coming out and making their reports. I mean to say, there is the stigma that you are a man. You must take what they get and stay quiet. There's the embarrassment part. Some of them wouldn't want to come forward and make the report because they have other men friends and they might feel victimized and have a stigma on them, indicating, no, you's a little sissy man, why are you going to report that? You's a man, you could take your licks, you's a man. But everybody are humans, everybody was made equally, everybody have emotions. Men have emotions, men have feelings as well too. Men are abused as well. And we see since the unit has come into existence, men are coming out because they are being encouraged. And even though they don't want to actually go into a station itself, they can come directly to the unit where their matter will be dealt with in the strictest professional way and in the most confidential way that it wouldn't get out. Because some people have a stigma too that they don't like to go to stations because they think that they are laughed at and being embarrassed. Rather than when they come into the unit, it's a whole different ball game.
Right.
They are being attended to directly and confidentially, and their reports and their personal business at home does not get out to the public, and that is what most of them want, especially men.
So when you say the unit, you mean the specific station where members will be based?
Yes.
You could just go to that station,
Yes.
ask to speak to the unit, and you just bypass the reporting to the station. Right.
That's how it's done sometimes.
And just a follow-up question. Does it have to be that the man is physically smaller than the woman, or is there some cases where the man might, if he wanted to, would be able to, physically
there are some
win,
cases,
but
the men
is holding back?
The men are bigger in size, and they can take advantage of the situation, and they know to themselves if they do, then they will be the one held accountable, although they are the one that was being abused prior. But they know to themselves that they are more physically strong, and if they do go to react to the abuse, they will be at fault, and we might go against them.
Well, so now the 16 days, just for those who might not be aware, what is the 16 days of activism, the whole premise of it? What is it trying to accomplish, and how is it going about to do so?
Well, the 16 days of activism is supported by the UN, right? And it engages where they focus on preventing domestic violence against women and against girls, right? But remember, we encompass all persons involved, so we include men as well. So if you realize, my colleague and we are wearing orange, and orange is the color that emulates 16 days of activism.
Yeah, folks, I unfortunately did not know. Otherwise, I actually, for the first time, might have tried to coordinate with the guests. Usually, I try not to show any affiliation, but for this cause, I think that would have been fine to circumvent that little policy of mine.
For the support.
So it's for gender-based violence, and now the 16 days. I think there's at least towards the end, there's supposed to be more than just the advocacy and the awareness campaign. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, there's something scheduled for the end, something more than just going about and spreading the word and letting people be aware of the unit and what it is, what it does and it entails. It's trying to get communities together as well, and there will be a seminar or a function at the end where we will be giving out hampers and toys and whatever to the public, to the children, to the families. And we're trying to encourage everybody to come out and unite in this goal that we have. That soon, and hopefully very soon in the near future, that the violence against women, girls, and men will come to an end.
And so now, so I think you said that you're getting more reports now, that people are more aware, that the unit exists first of all. So you have more special training to deal with it. But one of the things I do remember, or I think was an issue, was the fact that yes, you might get reports, but then the victim might not necessarily be willing to corroborate or even leave the situation and might remain. So has the awareness improve the victim's response to the situation, or is that still a challenge? Because psychologically, it's one thing to say, well, a man doesn't want to report it because he doesn't want to admit, because he might be afraid of a stigma. But it has to be different reasons for women. Maybe similar, but still different, not exactly that wanting to not appear weak. Do you still have that problem when it comes to the victims?
Presently, no. Most of the times, we have specially trained persons to be able to deal with these reports. So what happens when the victims come and they make the report, we guide them through the entire process. So they have a clear idea of what is going to happen next. We're all about being we're all about taking a victim-centered approach, right? So what we do, apart from taking the report, if the victim requires to seek medical attention, we do just that. We inquire if it is that they need to get to a place of safety. We would have partnered with safe houses that we can transport the victim and their family. Some of them may have children there. What we also do is that we assist the victim if they require us to assist them to get a protection order. We assist them with that process as well. Right? What we do as a unit is that we do constant checking or welfare checks with the victim. So even though they may come and make a report and they may ask for the perpetrator to be warned to desist from engaging in any acts of domestic violence, we do just that. But we liaise with victim and witness support unit. There's one within every division. And we do that referral to assist the victim through the process. So we don't just leave the victim there. We continue with our welfare check a month after, 3 months after, and even up to a year after to ensure that that victim is okay.
And just so people are aware, because I've asked this question before with other police representatives, but with regards to reporting, it doesn't have to start with the victim or even somebody living in a house, correct? A neighbor, a distant relative, basically someone living.
Anyone can report situations of domestic violence. They don't even necessarily have to be related. They could be friends, they could be neighbors, they could be a concerned person passing on the road every day and just keep hearing this violence going on, and they would call out. And from that, we would reach out.
Now there was another interesting point before we close, where I remember speaking to you, Corporal, and you mentioned that I think most of us might assume that domestic violence might be something where the stress of life for the lower economic bracket might be where you will find the majority of it. But that might be somewhat of an untrue assumption. And I say this because I know, at least in the past when I was younger, you're here quarreling, you don't want to get involved because you don't know what's going on. Right? And the problem, of course, is when if you jump the gun and you make accusations, that might be bad when it's unwarranted. But the flip side of that is maybe sometimes we assume that things are better than they are.
Yes.
So with regards to that, is it that you're finding signs in the higher economic brackets with regards to domestic violence?
I think we think that professionals are exempt from experiencing domestic violence. And within the Ministry of National Security, we can fall on either side of the spectrum, where we can either be the victim or we can be the perpetrator. What is happening now, and because we would have provided a level of safety and security for victims to come forward, we find more professionals coming forward because they feel like there's a level of confidentiality that would be afforded to them with the unit. So it's open to everyone from all spheres. However, we would encourage persons, professional, homemakers, we encourage all persons to come forward and report any instance of domestic violence.
And well, one thing that I'm curious about, PCBDC, with regards to, because I believe you're stationed in Mayaro, correct?
San Grande.
San Grande, sorry.
Eastern Division.
So with a more rural setting,
yes.
Are there any unique challenges there with regards to reporting? Because I know that the communities potentially are more tight-knit. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they might, for different reasons, want to be more hush-hush about things. Yeah. Especially, well, that's my family member. I don't want to get him in trouble or her in trouble. Are there any specific challenges that you've seen in the rural areas, or maybe reporting and response times are maybe more challenging because of the distance?
The distance is one thing, but if they are, like let's say we are based in San Grande and we get a report in Rio Claro, we ask for the assistance of the officers at the station up there to do the initial and reach out to the victim and respond based on the circumstance. Maybe take the victim to seek medical attention, whatever the case may be, until we have chance to reach to the victim, if the victim cannot reach to us based on the situation. But most cases, depending on the situation, we go.
Right.
We go directly and as soon as we can, because our victim is reaching out for assistance. And that is why, that is our function. That is why we are here.
And so for the wellness checks, if necessary, your unit will conduct the wellness checks. You won't leave it to other officers.
Yes, we take it upon ourselves to do wellness checks on the victims. Sometimes we reach as far as, there's a bond we create with the victims as well, because we have to make them comfortable and know that, all right, if I'm not accepted here, I'm being accepted here, and I am somebody, I am important. And they would look at themselves differently. If they were not looking at themselves that way before, we are reaching out to them as in a timely manner that they would say, yes, look, these people here, they care about me. They are reaching out to me. And they want to see me do better and be better in life and look better, because some of these victims, with the amount of abuse they are getting, they draw down in size, they're stressed out, and they don't look good. And honestly speaking, since I've been in the unit and we are reaching out to victims and assisting them, maybe not always charging the offender, but making amends, trying to bring the relationship back on par. Some actually work out. And they come and they look much better. They feel much better about themselves. They feel more accepted in society as for prior feeling from before.
Well, I mean, that's a very interesting statement, because we don't necessarily hear about where the intervention actually manages to reverse the situation to some extent, and I guess potentially nip the issue in a bud, yes, so to speak, and allow so the marriage or the relationship actually is maintained and improved.
Yes, in some cases, in some instances.
Well, I mean, that hopefully all situations could work out that way.
So it's not only about taking people before the court and arresting and charging and whatnot. It is also trying to make amends with the family and let them work out their relationship. And sometimes it does. Sometimes it takes a little work, a little longer. It takes longer because you have to keep at it with them. But eventually, we get there.
So more or less, we're just about out of time. If you could just tell the people again, with regards to the final event, I believe it is put on by both the Ministry of Social Development in partnered with the Ministry of National Security. The public involvement is encouraged. When and where?
It will be at the Queen's Park Savannah. So persons can come forward. They can assist by donating food items, clothing, any sort of support that you would like to help victims of domestic violence.
And what date again?
It is on Saturday the 10th, and that's also the Human Rights Day.
Okay.
So it's on Saturday, yes. For the 16 days of activism, it starts on the 25th of November, and it ends on Human Rights Day, the 10th of December.
Well, I mean, that is something that we, unfortunately, you would think that we don't need to be reminded about these things, but it's just one of those things that I guess in the hectic everyday life, it's easy to slip the mind. But folks, that's more or less all the time that we have, but I'd like to thank both of you for coming and speaking on behalf of this important subject, because it's a different crime challenge.
Yes,
and I think both hearing that there are good outcomes, there are reversals of fortune, but also there are more reports, which means that we as a society are potentially treating with it the right way, or at least better. It's good to hear, it's good to know, and I hope all of the viewers, those who are on the fence or are in doubt, well, they have a whole unit there to specialize to treat with your situation. But we close out the show. Thank you once again for coming.
Thank you for having us.
All right, folks, when we come back, I'll wrap up the hour, and then, of course, we open up the phone lines so you could have your say with regards to whatever we've spoken about today or any other thing that I have forgotten about or failed to bring up. But we'll have that after the break.
Better Value Limited has been making gift giving easier and more affordable for over 26 years. Power tools, indoor, outdoor furniture and accessories, mini appliances, designer fragrances, houseware and home decor products, and all your bridal registry items. Now in stock, our stylish loft bed and study desk combo unit for just $16.50. Better Value Limited. Call 235-3709 or visit us at Princestown or Gullview, or check our Facebook page.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Whether it's a room for 1, 2, 3 or more, there's a room waiting with the ocean view almost to your door. Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, the perfect getaway when you don't want to travel far. The Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, Crown Point, Tobago. Call 639-8571 for your reservation.
Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. PCU. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Making your home a work of art. Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures. Horse-and lights, tiles and bath, making your home a work of art. Olsen's Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Welcome back to Talking More, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we only have about 7 minutes left to the hour. One thing I did want to mention, and I think it's something that we take for granted. The THA Deputy Chief Secretary, who is also the Secretary for Health and Wellness in the Tobago House of Assembly, wanted to tell people, folks, as much as you believe that we are magicians, I can't do anything at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning to rectify you not getting paid from another division. In fact, I can't do anything at that moment in my division. That's the words that were reported in, I believe, this morning's Newsday. And you know what? I completely understand and support that. Anybody who is a business owner, my family has a business, so this is how I have a little bit of insight into this, will understand that just because the public thinks you as the big boss should be able to do the work and the function and get things done, the problem is, at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, even for a hotel, certain things might be difficult to carry out. A hotel that is operating on the weekends, by the way, in Tobago. Because not all of the staff is going to start work at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Much less for an office that one could argue is not going to be open, potentially, or not going to be fully staffed on a Saturday. So 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and even worse if it's a Sunday morning, we can't necessarily expect certain things to be done. Because at the end of the day, you need to have the workers out, and now you're demanding the workers to be out at 6 a.m. Is that always reasonable? I don't think so. It depends. Obviously, we expect the police stations to be manned, the fire stations to be manned, certain functions, obviously. But office and administrative functions at 6 a.m., because then what, we're going to go 6 till 2, and then have a second shift? Like, things get more to the point. She's talking about other divisions that she's not in charge of. At best, what she could do is speak to the secretaries in charge of those divisions, and then have to wait, and so on and so on. And I see this with regards to private business, where you expect the boss could get things done. And listen, people call me with regards to my family business, and I tell them it is faster for you if you call directly when they're open, because I have to wait for the staff to come in, and I will be a middleman, so all I will be doing is just adding time and confusion to your inquiries. So don't call me. Just call directly. It would be easier. You could get the information faster. You could ask the specific questions you want to ask, especially in the moment, as opposed to I ask for you, then tell you the results, then you have follow-on questions, so you have to wait for me to then get them back into contact when I have the time, because I don't always have the time. Same thing here. This is the Deputy Chief Secretary. It's 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning. We also need to remember that politicians are human too, and this goes across the board now. I don't expect an MP, unless it's an emergency, a serious emergency, not a pothole, random pothole in the street emergency, right? Even if I don't have water in my area, I don't expect that my local MP is going to really be able to do anything in the wee hours of the morning. Maybe at 6 a.m. he might be able to call WASA, but chances are there might not even be anybody senior enough to take his call, even if he was able to get through with somebody. So we need to have realistic expectations. It can't be that, hey, it has to be now, make it happen, now. Like, the world don't work so. It's not because the politicians can't and are lazy. They still have to wait on other people. And the other people are normal people like you and me. So having these expectations on our leaders is not really just having it on them alone. And now let's take it a step further. Do you honestly expect that such a heavily unionized body of workers are going to be more than willing to have things like 6 a.m. shifts in administrative offices on a Saturday morning? I'm not talking about a weekday again. It's weekend mornings. I don't know. But that, of course, then goes into my complaints with regards to the union. And so Roger, I believe, of the OWTU, he's complaining that the country would have been better off with Petrotrin. And to that I say, that may be true. That may be true. The professor disagrees with me vehemently with regards to the closing of the refinery and how profitable it was. To that I say, well, Mr. Roger, you negotiated yourself into the closure of Petrotrin because you did not want to compromise for 2 to 3 years straight, at least 2 years. You tried to compromise by the 3rd year, in which case the situation became, by the determination of the government, untenable, and I don't fault them for that. And now the only question is what's going to happen with WASA, because a strike in WASA and a strike in Petrotrin is 2 different problems. But the flip side of that is, would it be ethical to strike in WASA? I mean, I understand, I get it. But the demands that the unions are making, meanwhile, police service accepted 4%. Ironically, it's the one area that I was willing to consider, you know, maybe their salaries should be looked at and significant raises, not necessarily across the board, but for certain positions, depending, maybe it should be given. Because the risk that the officers face, I don't know why, but a lot of officers are dying even after COVID, not from COVID anymore. Those death notices come a little too frequently. I don't think we have a similar level of hazard in other areas of the public service, and that includes other areas of the Ministry of National Security. Prime Minister did say that corrupt officers need to be weeded out, And I wonder who he was referring to. He did say police and other security agencies are permanently engaged in crime detection, but the methods and the systems are not sufficient for what the population demands. And corrupt officers improve the quality of the policing agencies by weeding out corrupt and worthless officers from these various departments. It's an interesting dichotomy there. Ironically, again, those aren't necessarily the loudest unions. But that's one of the areas that we need to address. If only we would also address, I don't know, the WASA situation, the port situation. I don't know if TNTech has a situation. I hope not. Anyway, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll open the phone lines. Maybe I'll go into a little bit further detail with regards to the unions. I mean, I'm sure people think I'm union bashing, but what can I say? I don't really have any evidence to make me think that they are doing right by their own members. Stay tuned to Talking Point on WSN, your content capital. Show Michael Small. We'll be right back after the break to hear from you, the viewer. Have a content capital Christmas. It's the best time of the year. Now I know we have no snow, but Christmas is still here. Ho ho, the Christmas shows each week for all to see. Movie classics wait for you and our local content for free. Have a content capital Christmas, and in case you didn't hear, oh by God, we have a content capital Christmas this year.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive. It is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole. It's for all of us in public.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best birthday gifts are at dbesttoys.com. Shop for the best brands you love at the best prices. Like VTech, Leapfrog, Fisher-Price, Play-Doh, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Cocomelon, LOL, Baby Alive, Crayola. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 32DBEST to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing now, Andy.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Living in victory every day.
Inspire, motivate, encourage, hope. It's about topical issues. It's about everything that you would want to know about hope, about life. At the end, you're going to say, yes, if he can do it, I can do it too. If she can, I can do it too.
No matter what they say, living in victory every day.
Nicole Lawson Live, living in victory every day. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on WESN.
It's Christmas time, and with your family you'll spend every evening watching a movie on WESN. The classics that fill your heart with merriment and cheer as we celebrate together the most wonderful time of the year.
This is my island in the sun.
This Christmas, WESN celebrates with you as the content capital brings the big screen classics. Join us with your loved ones Mondays to Saturdays from 8 p.m. and Sundays at 9 p.m. for We Christmas Movie Classics.
Santa's coming to town. Oh my God! Santa here? I know him. I know him.
Only on WESN, Content Capital.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, the phone lines are open. I'm going to open them right now. People, call in just in case. Do we have to take a break before the end of the show? Yeah, we have. So, folks, we have to take a break towards the end of the show, which means that our time to take calls is going to be shortened within the foreseeable future. So don't make the error of calling in towards the end of the half an hour. And then we have a traffic congestion of calls, and we can't take everybody calling. Now, let me clarify, because I didn't have enough time to finish what I was saying before the break. Now, the Prime Minister, he did say, again, the government will invest in border protection and improve the quality of TT's policing agencies by weeding out corrupt and worthless officers from these various departments. Of course, one of the big things has been with regards to the port and the scanners, of which inspections had to be done by hand. Out of 23,000 containers, only 4,000 were inspected, 19,000 approximately were not inspected. That is what has been reported, I believe. And more importantly, I do have to ask two things. One, why does it take so long to get things cleared if you're not even inspecting the majority of them? Two, what about, and I understand, I get it, guns come through our legal port of entries, including the airports. So it's not just the port, by the way. Including the airport, guns get through. But still, we know that our maritime borders, with regards to illegal ports of entry and smugglers, stuff is coming through. People are coming through. Why are we allowing that to come through? Because even if, think about it, we leave one weakness open, we close one other weakness, well, it's just obvious that they're going to pivot. Not so. But the point that he's making here, weeding out corrupt and worthless officers from these various departments. Yes, I think that's necessary. However, the problem is I do believe that to some extent the systems, whether formal or informal, that are in place allows these things to happen, allows these issues to not just continue but to fester. Not just in national security agencies. And therein lies the problem. I don't know what's the name of whatever union that the rest of national security has. Of course, the police has the Social and Welfare Association. What about the public utilities? What about the other government agencies? When are we going to get weeding out there? Because it's not just national security where we have Yes, it's not criminal with regards to some of the things that they do, but there's still corruption, both criminal and as well as just negligence in other parts of the government with regards to the bureaucracy, with regards to the public service. We've allowed the problem to fester throughout. We have a caller from Pfizerbank. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, Sean. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Morning, morning.
All right. That 4% increase for the police service, to me, is just a slap in the face, and it would leave room for police officers to become more corrupt with the rising cost of living and what have you. So much for that. And the second story is that with respect to the flooding, I recognize that people, ministers in the PNM, they tend to have a lightness for the diversion of rivers and watercourses. I remember the incident in Diego Martin with a certain minister, and this one now in Manzanilla. So they tend to have a likeness for the water business. The third issue is that I have, on a lighter note, I have my grandchildren who is going to sit the SEA coming up shortly. And what I am going to advise them to do is to mark their own papers and to rate themselves. We're not going to send it to the authorities, because I recognize there is trending now where you can mark yourself and take what grade you want. I want all of them to go nap. You understand what I'm saying, my brother?
Well, to be fair, I'm not entirely aware with regards to the last thing, what you exactly are referencing to. So,
all right, so I can help you with it.
Yes.
I can help you. Mr. McDonald Jacob went ahead and rated himself. The lady in customs went ahead and rated themselves and give them B+.
Right, right.
Michael Wee, the man who was in charge of the emergency response team, said on the commission, after 4 people would have lost their life, he got on the scene 48 hours after, and when asked how he would rate his performance, he said, excellent. So I feel it is only fair that my grandchildren get a chance to rate this out.
I actually think you're onto something there. I actually do think you're onto something there. What's good for one should be good for all.
Exactly, my brother. Exactly, my brother.
Well,
you know, and I hasten to say that if the refinery was in operation, we'd have been making real money now, my brother. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller. The only thing, though, is, I hate to say this, but implementation with regards to the refinery, I am not so confident. But then again, you know what? I'm willing to concede the fact that maybe you and the professor are right. The only thing, though, is that for the same reason why I don't necessarily want to give the government too much credit, because a war happened, and that's why the prices rebounded. Before that, prices were looking kind of grim with regards to oil. And OPEC was trying to do everything they can to get prices to rise, and it wasn't really working until the war. I'm not too sure. Maybe we should have looked ahead with regards to Guyana if information was forthcoming. I can't remember the chain of events. So I'm not too sure how that would have worked, because I do believe Karen Shishera told me in discussions, either off air or potentially on air as well, that it's not as though the world has a lot of new refineries just opening up any and everywhere. The problem, I believe, is how they wound up Petroshan with regards to using the refinery as collateral on the loan to get the money to give out severance packages. Sometimes I wonder if these severance packages are deserved. But anyway, it's done regardless of whether I agree with it or not, or if it's right or not. And that loan is causing the financial situation of getting the refinery started. It's complicating the matter more. With regards to belief, yeah, for all intents and purposes, I kind of agree with you, because I already said I do think that maybe that's the one area that deserved more money, just because of the nature of the job, the risk that they take, the fact that there seem to be a lot of officers still dying at a relatively young age. The retirement age is not that old for police officers, and they're dying on active duty. And yes, that question with regards to corruption, that needs to be asked. Teachers, I think, is a noble profession that should be compensated as well as possible. But given the fact that I know private teachers are compensated less well than government teachers, I'm not necessarily as willing to engage with regards to that debate. And with regards to the flooding, it's one of the most important issues that we have right now because it's not going to go away. Yeah, it'll go away in the dry season. Hopefully, we might not get one of those rainy dry seasons. That would be a hell of a thing, right? When we try to fix our roads and we have excessive rain during a dry season. Not that we haven't seen that before. We have another caller from Chagoras. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. Time to spit in the wind again. Keep talking about the roads and the highways and always keep. The problem is we have highways authorities which are not properly used. Instead, we have the government bringing out a new highway agency, which will only make the problem worse. Again, you talk about affordability in government without mentioning, but I have repeated at least 200 times, government makes no attempt to collect the revenue, and in cases where the agency tend to try to collect the revenue, they stop them. And my favorite topic, crime, which I always claim is not a real problem. The problem is law and order. That is, we have to enforce all our laws. And if we do that, we will reduce crime. But I keep saying these things.
No, well,
you keep ignoring them and saying you didn't.
No, but Professor, with regard to your last point, I didn't disagree with it. I just mentioned the fact that the Prime Minister was saying that the bad apples need to be weeded out.
But there's a procedure in government for dealing with that.
Well, and the thing is, I think,
explain to you.
With regards to your point of all of our laws, right, then the bad apples that might exist in town and country and the various ministries and the various authorities and the various boards that have oversight of the various regulations with regards to society, also the bad apples there need to be weeded out. That's where I expanded on what the Prime Minister said.
And that is why you have annual administrative reports to say why they're not doing what they, but you have to look at the public service as a whole.
And yes, I do know that. I believe one political activist, he in the courts basically ruled against the police. He had a Freedom of Information Act. I don't know, they didn't mention annual administrative reports directly, but basically they were saying that they can't hold up a request for information that's supposed to be, I believe, published annually. So I am assuming if it's not the annual administrative report, it would at least be a lot of the information that should be in that report.
A lot of information in government. When you put in your annual administrative report, you put in your data for your agency. This used to be sent to the CNTT, who will incorporate it, and all these things have stopped.
Well, look, Professor, I do not doubt your answers. I am just providing new points of discussion for the topics, because you're right.
I thought that was what you were saying before when I pointed out this.
Well, I'm just saying, whenever we say transparency, always understand that in the back of my mind, I include annual administrative reports whenever I speak about transparency, or the lack thereof.
Okay,
gentlemen. Thank you, Professor. Have a good day. I mean, at the end of the day, he is right. He is right. And in a way, it's good that he calls in to remind us of these things every day. Think about it, folks. They're supposed to be annual reports. That's supposed to speak about a lot of basic things within the government service, within the public service, right? And I believe including budgetary things. Some of it, a lot of it could be mundane things, but these mundane things were not reported. Then it leaves the door open. Again, you leave vulnerabilities in the system that allows for weaknesses to be exploited by the corrupt and worthless officers. So he's right to keep pointing it out, as well as the fact of not enforcing general law and order. As my co-host would point out as well, you see a police officer literally parked next to some minor infraction of the law, they're doing nothing about it. Why? And when the public sees that and identifies that, and then, they just get the sense of lawlessness in the country, that translates down the line to more people being willing to commit crimes. We have, is it another caller from Faizabad? Good morning.
Yeah, morning, Sean.
Yeah, morning.
Yeah, I want to engage you a little bit again. I want you to do me a favor, if it's humanly possible, that you invite Mr. Gary Booth from Fishermen and Friends of the Sea. He has some very, very, very relevant information with respect to the refinery. And so you would have showed from 2015 straight on to 2019, government had to inject no money into Petroleum, absolutely none. They were making a profit. He went to the Freedom of Information Act, and he had it. So I think we're bandying this about too much, and we have the real facts. So if you would invite him, and he would come and share with John public the real status of where Petroleum was. As a matter of fact, in the industrial court, the judge would have looked at it and said, look, all the various committees, the Lashley committees and all of them, would have recommended that Petroleum be restructured, simply recognizing that it was top-heavy. There was no recommendation for the shutting down of Petroleum.
Well, yes, but is it Petroleum or the refinery?
But
because those aren't
Petroleum
exactly
and
the same things, huh, caller?
Is one of the same.
No, because what was Petroleum, parts of Petroleum has continued. It's only the refinery that was put a stop to.
No, my brother, and the refinery were making money, and that's the point I'm making.
Okay. All right, I'll look at it, but we have another caller that I want to get to. I'm sorry, time is limited.
Yeah,
I'll look at it.
Thanks.
Okay, who's the next caller? We have Sandra Grandi on the line. Good morning, Sandra Grandi.
Yeah, morning.
Morning.
I'm happy to get through with your call, having many times tried. But I want to quickly make a point with regard to the Manzalina breakaway. Now, I am 68 years of age, and during my teenage years, I remember there was a breakaway at Manzalina. And I have no engineering skills and so on, but common sense, they filled up that breakaway instead of allowing the water from the swamp when it is overflooded to go this. I mean, it's common sense. Nature is telling you that between the river, from Mita River, because I used to live Plum Road, Manzalina, and I knew and I had some idea about what was going on there. And the span between the Mita River and the next river is approximately 5 miles. So when it overrains, the water has to go somewhere within that span. So it will lodge in the coconut field, and when it is severely plentiful, then it have to break some way. After my teenager, not long after in 2018, the same thing happened. And I do understand people with with engineering skills in this country can realize that the water has to go past. You understand? To get to the sea. So the obvious thing is to make passage. I hope that what they're going to do now, that they will realize that this is common sense, so that they could allow the water when it is excessive in the swamp to have a way to get to the sea, and the same calamity that has been happening over and over with the road wouldn't happen again.
Yes.
And our tax money wouldn't be spent wastefully.
Yes.
No, I just heard this, that, I heard him said, the Minister of Works, that he is a respectable man, and he, in Parliament, he wouldn't do, but there is a place where he built and so on, and it was said, it was alleged that the water course was filled up and so on. I can't verify that. You understand? All that probably, contributed to what we have today. You understand?
Yeah.
So I don't want to take much though. I had another point about Petrotrin, but I'll leave my time for another time. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, caller.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, caller. Yeah, I think the key point from what the caller said was the water has to go somewhere. So he's not advocating necessarily for a specific solution, I believe. Ultimately, just some sort of avenue that will account for the water passing towards the sea without destroying our infrastructure in the process. We have a caller from Diego Martin. Good morning.
Hi, Sean. Good morning. Thanks, Keaton, wherever you are. My heart breaks for that gentleman there. Sean, I am fairly well educated, but I am no longer understanding anything. So if crime is a perennial issue, and perennial means perpetual, and the Prime Minister said the police and security agencies are permanently engaged in crime detection, but clearly the current systems and methods are not sufficiently robust to bring the level of safety and security that the population demands and deserves, and he is also not prepared to concede and will continue to provide resources to law enforcement. Sean, the Minister of National Insecurity, has also said it's not his job to keep people safe, but to provide resources. The Commissioner acting has given himself a B+ while we're sixth in the world in crime. The figure is 560 or whatever. Sean, we can concur that nothing is working. Flooding is perennial, poverty perennial, no water perennial, no roads, no drainage, no scanners, no agriculture, no OSHA inspectors, no rescue plans, poor education, poor health. What, pray tell, do we have while we are jamming still and Keith Rowley once more because India is telling the other candidates to come again? Come on, people. It's Monday morning in paradise once more. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you, caller. Well, I'll tell you what we do have. What little private sector we do have is able to keep throwing those facts that more or less keep people forgetting what exactly it is that we're going through. And I think one could argue some of the younger generation are somewhat oblivious to what's going on because it hasn't necessarily affected them yet. Think about it. A lot of the fete goers and party promoters outside of one son of a minister who was potentially caught breaking public health regulations, as the Prime Minister is more or less saying, the reason why I got rid of the Commissioner of Police was because he wasn't enforcing public health regulations. I mean, that's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. But yes, he's now acknowledging that they might have bad apples that needs to be weeded out. This is not new. This is not new. And I would really love to see if he has the political will to follow through with that statement. Because so far, the government has not had the political will to follow through with the WASA statement. It's the same thing. No one can. I would love for someone to tell me that WASA is healthy and WASA is operating properly and WASA doesn't need to change. Really and truly. Am I the only one talking about a lack of water resources? And again, with regards to the giving yourself the own grade, to give a little bit of fairness to the commissioner, he didn't want to do it. But I agree, you shouldn't give yourself a B+ grade. You just shouldn't. You just shouldn't. You shouldn't even give yourself a grade. You just say, the buck stops at me, and the results are not satisfactory, and I will do the best that I can to turn it around, and all of us in the TTPS will do the best that we can to turn it around. But I understand that the results are nowhere near satisfactory, and it is a difficult challenge, but we are putting all of our effort forward. It sounds like a lot of stuff that they usually say, and you should have continued on that track. Don't veer off of it, and don't try to give yourself a grade. With regards to the emergency response team giving themselves an excellent rating, that person needs a reality check. If you were there within an hour, and that's being generous, by the way, of the accident, then your response was completely and utterly worthless, in my opinion. In my opinion. Because you can get there within an hour and be too late, and then you need all of the time to plan, to prepare, and to execute. That would have taken Lord knows how long. So 2 days late, if I have actually not even heard about this emergency response team, to be honest. I just haven't. Within all of the details of the situation, I don't even know who this is. To me, you are a non-entity. So the fact that you rate yourself as excellent, well, based on what I have now been told, I find that very interesting. But folks, I'm being told that I'm out of time and to wrap up, and Lord knows that I would love to ramble on more about the things that are frustrating me, and I'll just say it again. Education, transportation, water supply and flooding, of which the solutions could be intertwined and can support each other. These are some of the big issues that I need. I need to hear policy put forward, ideas put forward from our political entities. Crime, that's a whole other kettle of fish. But these are low-hanging fruit that should be solvable. They should be. Why are they not? And we have other problems in agriculture, in health, in tourism. I'm putting all that on the back burner. Those are the most important things to me. Ease of doing business. All of those things. We could solve a lot of these things, you know. Anyway, I'm being told off by my director. Folks, as my coach would say, today is a good day to have a good day, so please put your best foot forward. This is the start of the week. Just remember, let we go because all of we in this together. Don't just think that somebody else will solve it for us. Folks, we will see you tomorrow morning. This is Talking Point on WSN, your content capital. My name is Sean Michael Small. Goodbye.
WESN.
Christmas coming, here is all around. Christmas back in town. Christmas coming, here is all around.
Christmas is coming, and your fingers know it.
Christmas back in town. Christmas back in town. Christmas back in town. Oh yeah, I can feel it. Christmas back in town.
For a finger-licking good Christmas. KFC.
WESN's Game Day Minute, brought to you by KFC's Game Day Bucket.
This is also a beautiful stadium. And it is loaded with red. Because red is Morocco and is also Canada. It's beautiful. Okay? It's beautiful. Once again, we have very, very, very good seats. You know? Very good seats. We are about 40 yards from the corner plant, but it is fantastic. The crowd is starting to erupt. You know? The guys are warming up. I hope Canada can pull off an upset. We need them to get some points. Okay? Because I am supporting Canada all the way. Bye-bye. But there are a lot of Canadian guys inside here, this park also. To hear a change in music. It's just upbeat music without any vocals. And that woman is playing some hot music right there in front of us. front of us. That's the MC. And the DJ is further down in front of us. And wait. It was a fantastic year. And this is my buddy Michael. Okay? All the way from Canada. Looking for. Say wave, your double wave. Canada, Michael and looking for. We made the trek from Trinidad all the way here. Morocco played well in the first half, but Canada dominated the second half. And the Moroccans have felt as though it's a burden off of their chest today. What a wonderful second half. I do not think Canada will go leave here feeling embarrassed at all. They played a beautiful second half. They really, really look good. Okay? But the Moroccans are very happy because they are qualified for the second half. And well, it is decibels here. Decibels. I cannot believe how loud it is. Decibels are decibels. 44,000 people. And the noise erupting out of this stadium is unreal. Good job, Mr. Morocco. Well done. Moroccan fans are here. Everyone is here. Canadian fans, the Moroccan fans, and me from Trinidad and Tobago. Enjoy Trinidad and Tobago. We are well represented.
WESN's Game Day Minute, brought to you by KFC's Game Day Bucket.
Christmas coming, here is all around. Christmas back in town. Christmas coming, here is all around.
Christmas is coming, and your fingers know it.
Christmas back in town. Christmas back in town. Christmas back in town. Oh yeah, I can feel it. Christmas back in town.
For a finger-licking good Christmas. KFC.
Have a content capital Christmas. It's the best time of the year. Now I know we have no snow, but Christmas is still here. Ho ho, the Christmas shows each week for all to see. Movie classics wait for you and our local content for free. Have a content capital Christmas, and in case you didn't hear, oh by golly, have a content capital Christmas this year.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former Mayor Louis Lee Singh, available at all the Home Store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue, St. Anne's, WESN 30A Gattaca Street, Woodbrook, Metropolitan Bookshop, Ariapita Avenue, Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People.
I'm Andy Johnson, and you're watching WESN, the content capital. The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
I am Sule A. Joseph, and we are WESN, Content Capital. Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
I am Rondell Donowa, and you are watching WESN, the Content Capital.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive. It is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole. It's for all of us in public.
I am Kemuel Pascal, and we are WESN, Content Capital.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered,
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
I am Mahi Sekas, and you are watching WESN, the Content Capital.
In this season, we talk more about health, wellness, and everything in between. I am so excited to share with you everything about health and wellness so that you can design the life that you've always dreamed of. Join me here on What's Up Doc.
What's Up Doc, Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN, Content Capital.
I'm Keaton Shaw, and we are WESN, the Content Capital. What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers? Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best.
I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.